Welcome to the Mom Owned and Operated podcast, the podcast about moms and for moms, where we have candid conversations about running a business, raising a family, and remembering ourselves. I'm your host, Rita Suzanne, a single mom of four, digital strategist, and provider of no-nonsense business strategies and tactics. Hi, this is Mom Owned and Operated. I am Rita Suzanne, and today I have my guest Emylee with me. Emylee, I'm so excited to chat with you. Please tell everyone all about you, your business, and your family.
Okay. Hi. So my name's Emylee Williams. I'm the founder of Creatives Catalyst, a consulting agency based out of Kansas City. I am an author, a published author, a founder, an artist, an ex-CEO, a podcaster, a mom to one here in the Midwest. I started and co-founded a pretty large marketing and education agency that I ran for almost 9 years after being out on my own, building a photography business, which turned into a strategy business with local brands and influencers. When I met my business partner, we collaborated, created my old company, and I ended up leaving that, walking away from what from the outside looking in looked like a dream job about this time last year to go off on my own again, to scale back a little bit, to be a little bit more present with my family and my kiddo, and maybe make some more money while I was doing it. And I took the summer off last year to really focus on publishing my first book. I also write romance novels under a pen name. I call her my secret identity. So I focused on that for about 4 or 5 months and then really dove headfirst back into consulting. Now I had, 9 years under my belt of experience working with literally tens of thousands of small business owners in the creator economy, getting a peek behind the curtain of what their businesses look like, how they ran, what marketing worked really well for them, what systems were they using, what was the most profitable strategy, and everything in between. And I decided to take all of that experience and that data and work specifically one-on-one with other service-based business owners who were coaches and consultants. Typically, these folks have a high-end coaching program that has, an application process and webinars or podcasting or open houses. And then they open and they close their cart a couple of times a year. And then they try ads and they do evergreens, those kind of businesses that are typically in that like $300 to $1 million price range or revenue stream per year. And I help them generate systems in their business to know what's working. Typically, they are one-woman shows, or they have a very small, lean team of a couple of VAs and contractors. And sometimes it's really hard to understand where to put your time and attention, but also your team's time and attention. And I am a numbers girly. And so I like to make data sexy and understandable and fun to really dig into in your business. I'm a recovering data phobe, I guess you would say. I remember I had a panic attack on a Zoom call with our bookkeeper, kind of halfway through growing a multi-million-dollar agency. And I didn't like how that made me feel. And so ever since then, I've kind of made it my mission to fall in love with the data and not be afraid of it, and really find a way to understand how to make decisions based on that data in a really fun way. And so that's what I do now. I do that one-on-one with clients, and I love it. I'm addicted to it.
I love that you kind of face that fear, because I find that a lot of women are actually fearful of data in general, right? Of numbers. They don't want to kind of face the facts of the financials, or even look at the numbers when it comes to the data as far as like their analytics or any of those things. And, before we kind of, segue into the other things, why do you think that is?
At least for me, the experience, I have been in a relationship for so long. I met my now husband when I was 18, and we started dating when I was 18. He's the finance guy, he's the numbers guy, he's the logic guy. And for so long of my marriage, of my life, he's taken care of all of the money aspect, the financial aspect of our family, of our household, of our marriage, of our relationship. And I've allowed that to happen because that's what felt most comfortable for me. That's what felt safest for me. I don't feel like a lot of us we're trained, we're informed, we're educated growing up as women, but as people, to budget, to save, to have a healthy relationship with money. I feel like I had a lot of like money trauma growing up and a really negative relationship with money. So I just full on delegated that to my partner.
Mhm.
But what happened was, then as I was growing my own business and being a small business owner and being an entrepreneur, which I love doing and I'm really, really good at, there was a giant disconnect with what I was spending my time on, what I was thinking about, what I was investing in, what I was building behind the scenes, and how it was making me money. And I've since learned that there's truly nothing more empowering than seeing your efforts being directly correlated with your revenue, with your profit, with the impact that you can have in your community, within your business, your clients, or philanthropic, whatever floats your boat. That there's nothing that excites me and empowers me more than understanding how all those things work together. So I think a lot of it is fear-based. A lot of it is we just don't know. We weren't taught. A lot of us probably have supportive partners who do manage a lot of that. That's very stereotypical. That's very common. And so therefore, when it comes to our business, these are all brand new skills and muscles that we haven't flexed and that we don't know how to strengthen, but it is doable and it is fun.
Yeah. And I think it's super important. I always am telling my clients that they need to, every month when they're looking at their financials, one, they don't look at their financials. But two, when they do look at their financials, they should be looking at what products or services offers are selling,
Yeah.
and the things that are not selling, then maybe let's discontinue. Let's not put our efforts
Yes.
into those things. What are you focusing on with your clients as far as like those type of things? Same, is it similar?
Yeah, that's a really big part of the discussion. So how I start every relationship with a client is through a 5-point audit, health assessment. Basically, we work together to. We have a phone call where we I learn about your business, how you sell, how you market, how you generate leads, what you invest in, how you make money, all of those things. And it typically comes down to about 5 to 7 different avenues of things that matter, metrics that matter. Typically, it's always your QuickBooks, your P&L, your top line revenue. Maybe you have a membership, so it's retention. Maybe it's your email service provider and it's your open rates or your new subscribers or your click rates. Maybe it's how many people are signing up to watch a webinar and then are converting to your paid offer. Maybe it's sales calls to conversions to proposals, whatever, right? Whatever makes sense for your business.
Right.
So I go back and I do all of the digging. I look at your last 12 months of your data, and I'm really good at finding themes. And so with all of that presented in front of me, I can see, okay, here's what led to this, or I have questions about this, or why did this dip down, or why did this spike up? And we just do an audit about what is actually happening in your business. That then enables us to pull different levers. If you bring on more clients, you could potentially make more revenue, but do you have the time and the capacity to serve those clients? If you create a new offer, digital, lower price typically, where are those leads going to be coming from? Do you have the current audience who's going to actually say yes to that? How much should we be charging to reach your new income or your revenue goal? And there's a big part of that conversation. I call it your profit pie, where we look at a visual pie, a pie chart. 'Cause I'm such a visual learner, and like I need to see it not just in cells and records, but like in charts and graphs and comparisons. And so we look at your profit pie of all of the offers that you're selling. How much money did it make you in the last 12 months? And I challenge my clients, anything under 7% of your total revenue, we cut. And
Mm.
that enables us to pour our time and attention in things that are bigger income generators that do impact our clients in a bigger way. We can either cut it or we can roll it into an existing offer and increase that price, or we just cut it in general. And sometimes that alone offers such a freeing on your literal time, the task that you have to do. But then you see a bigger income jump with your other products when you're able to focus more on them.
I love that. Okay, so what is your biggest stream of revenue right now?
Yeah, it's 100% my one-on-one consulting work. When I left my company, the answer to that question was like 7 or 8 different things. When you have a multi-million-dollar marketing agency, there's a lot that goes into that, and I wanted absolutely to streamline. I finally got into understanding nervous system regulation and managing my anxiety and my addiction to productivity and the tie that I had of my self-worth with my work. And since I was, kind of unraveling that in the last year with a lot of therapy, a lot of talking and reading and educating and learning, I really knew for me what works is cutting trimming the fat, right? And really getting to the meat of what's going to make the biggest impact in my clients' lives and their business, and really streamlining my offers. And so for right now, it's one-on-one consulting work. I'm advising businesses. A lot of that involves building spreadsheets, building data interfaces so that we can look at that information and make proper decisions on how we want to move forward. And a subset of that is a lot of marketing and launch planning and advising. And so typically what comes from our calls is, okay, this is what has happened in the last 12 months. If nothing changes, this is what you can expect to happen. But you told me your goal is X. Okay, what's the gap? How are we going to get there? And I like to collaborate with business owners and really help them come up with the best lever to pull in order to get to that point. Does that mean hiring? Does it mean creating a new offer? Does it mean raising the price? Does it mean launching one more time? Like, what does that actually mean? And really supporting them and helping make that come to life.
Love that. So over the years, what has been the most valuable financial lesson that you can share with other mom business owners?
Honestly, for me, I'm a mom. I also have a chronic illness. I'm also neurodivergent. I don't have a lot of spoons to give some days. I don't have a lot of high energy. I have to be very intentional about my work. So for me and for other moms who find themselves in that space, I have to know on a month-to-month basis, on a quarterly basis, what was the action in this last quarter that actually made me the most money. And if I only have energy to do one thing, I'm going to prioritize that. And if we don't know that information, I can tell you exactly what's happening. You're doing a little bit of that because, like, you think that you should, that you should, but then you're also writing blog posts and figuring out your website and your SEO. You're rebranding to seem more professional or more polished or whatever, because it's just fun. You are on social media and maybe you're making reels and you're making TikToks and maybe you're buying that $37 course to learn how to do this DM automated strategy for this low priced offer that you haven't even made yet. Maybe you're also working on a webinar slide deck and thinking about starting a podcast and then emailing that one client and then wondering what you need to be doing next and why you feel like you're always busy, but you're not making progress. I don't have the time and energy to be always busy and not making progress. No one does. No one does. But I needed the clear data to show me, all right, girl, if you've got extra spoons, go explore this cool new thing. That sounds great. That's fun. That's part of being in business. That's learning something new. I love doing that. But if we're limited or if we need to be seeing quicker results, here are the things that have been proven for me and for my offer, for my business, for my audience to work. So that's the lean, mean machine that I'm going to focus on.
I love that. It's interesting that you bring that up because I had a few weeks ago created a free gift and started talking about are you really marketing, right? Because I see a lot of mom business owners getting stuck in that busy work, but continuously talking about their marketing, they're busy, but you're not really making money with these things, these busy work tasks. You're updating your website, like you said, you're creating images, you're doing these things. Or you could even be posting on social media, but are you actually marketing? Like sharing a inspirational quote is not marketing.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that we need to get really clear on what is actually marketing. And speaking of that, what's one marketing tactic or strategy that you are doing that's working for you?
100% every single time. I know when I focus on relationships, I make more money. 100% of my business in the past year and a half, and in the history of the 13 years that I've been in business, it hasn't been 100% throughout my entire history because we've relied on Facebook ads or different things. But in the past 18 months, 100% of my business has been because of referrals. So I know that if I reach out to the right people who are connected in the right way, and I'm really clear on, hey, here's the thing that I'm going to be offering. Do you know anyone? Can you introduce? Do you think of anyone who might need this thing? Is there a warm referral, or can you just give me the name and I can kind of go do some creeping and build that relationship? But when I speak up and say to the right people, and I have three of those people, you don't need a bunch. Yeah, I have three people in my back pocket who I know when I'm developing a new offer, or I've got clarity on my message about this thing that I already am offering or whatever, I know that if I call this person, if I voice message this person and say, hey, here's the thing that I'm working on, that they can think of 5 to 10 people who it's going to be perfect for. I don't need, as an introvert, as a human design projector, I am someone who does not have the Rolodex of contacts. I'm not that person. I'm not the person that's like, oh my gosh, I know exactly who you should be connected to. I'm the person who has 3 to 5 to 7 of those people in my back pocket who I've nurtured that relationship with over the years, who I know this person seems more, corporate connected. This person seems like they're going to know a lot of people who need this analytical dashboard that I just designed. This person seems like they know really new beginner consultants. So this lower price offer that I'm developing would be perfect for them. So I know when to reach out to those people. But if I hadn't nurtured those relationships, if I hadn't also let them pick my brain when it's necessary and when it's needed, it's got to be an equitable relationship. Then I wouldn't be able to just call on them at any second, with a new idea. But I know when I do, I'm going to be introduced to my next client.
Do you have any tips for building or maintaining those relationships?
Yeah, I think a big part of it is first that releasing the expectation that sometimes when we talk about networking and building that network, right? Especially if you're an introvert, you automatically like pull into yourself and you're like, oh, like nothing sounds worse than going to this networking event and talking about myself and introducing myself to all these people who I don't care about and I don't want to know. And it's stressed out and it literally like can create a pit in your stomach. I get that. Like that is me 100%. And so release that doesn't have to be the way that you network. You can network in a way that feels in alignment with you. And so if you feel like you're that person, then it's all about really thinking about the contacts that you've had over the years in your neighborhood, on the PTA, who your parents know, who your ex-colleague at that one place, where did she go to work? Where is she at now? Who does she know? That place that you volunteered at, who do they know? Your literal old job, current job, who do they know? Anyone that you've worked with before in any capacity, that your partner has worked with before in any capacity. Think of the people who are no more than 1 degree away from you. So they cannot be past that. Like you should be able to send them an email, text them, or call them, and it should be met with warm reception. They remember who you are. Oh my gosh, it's so great to hear from you. But these are people like some of these people I didn't talk to for years. But when I reached out to them, because we had such a solid relationship previously, and I was very specific about my reach, it while it came out of left field, it was like no time had passed.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, let's hop on a Zoom. Let's reconnect. Let's do this. So I'm talking about those people. So when you find them, make your list of 5, 7, 10 of those. And I promise you, when you reconnect with them and start to just have a human to human conversation, what are you up to? Here's what I'm up to. This is crazy. This is my new offer. Isn't this what? Like, this is what I'm doing. I'm so excited about this. They're automatically going to be able to connect the dots on, who might be able to benefit from that thing, or who they can introduce you to that knows people who could benefit to that thing. That's how you start widening that circle. But your initial reach out does not have to be more than like 5, 7, 10 people.
Yeah, I agree. I think that oftentimes people are afraid to even go to previous clients and say, "Hey, I have this new thing. Here are the details about it. Do you know anybody who might be interested in this?" They are terrified because
Yes.
I'll say that to, colleagues and friends and say, "Hey, you should go approach your old clients. Like they are your best referral source."
Yes. I promise you, like the psychology behind that is we all want to be the reason for someone else's success. Every single one of us. It's a really cool thing to do. Oh my gosh, like I introduced you to that person and it made this happen for you. They want to feel responsible for that, able to, bridge those connections. And so you asking, especially if it's a warm connection, is allowing them to get to flex that very human desire and make that connection happen for you.
Yes. Okay, so let's pivot a little and talk a little bit about any of your favorite tools, apps, softwares that you're using that make your life or business a little bit easier.
Yep. I would say hands down the number one tool that makes my life and business easier is Airtable. I'm a new Airtable convert. I have been messing with it for about a year now. I shied away from it for the longest because it looks like a spreadsheet and there's formulas and it's data and there's records. And I'm like, this is going to break my brain. But holy moly, the things that I have been able to build, not just for myself, but for my clients, like I have an entire, I call it a consultant ecosystem. And it's quite literally every single one of my leads, my income, my expenses, my proposal, my contracts, everything happens automated through that entire system. And at a visual glance, I can see how much money I made month over month, what do I feel like contributed to that thing? Because I track different things that are custom to my life and my business. I also track, because of my chronic illness, my energy levels and my health and my cycle and when I have childcare and when I don't have childcare. So I can compare that and I can look back. And if I'm looking at the last 6 months or the last year and I'm like, man, that 1 month was really down. Like what happened? And instead of like beating myself up about I must not have like networked enough, or I must not have sold enough, or I must not have marketed enough, or whatever it is, I can literally look back at the data and be like, oh, I was on my period. I was in bed for 7 days and I didn't have childcare for half the month.
Mhm.
That explains it. And
Yeah.
that's just so much more freeing when I'm able to make decisions and pivot off of actual information instead of just feelings. It feels a lot more empowering.
Well, yeah, and then you're not so hard on yourself, right? It's not your fault,
Yeah.
actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's not your fault. Actually, like life happens.
Right. Yeah, because it's so easy to be down on yourself, especially when you're looking at something that is so black and white, like the
Yeah.
numbers, right?
Yeah.
And we often look at the numbers and we take such accountability for them and take
Yes.
it so personally that we can be so critical on
Yeah.
ourselves. And I think that looking at those outside factors, especially as a mom, as a parent, whether you're single or not, or
Yeah.
you have other things going on in your life, there are other factors that can make it even more
Yeah.
challenging. So I love the idea of looking at those things. I use Notion. I've used Airtable before.
I
And in
love
fact,
Notion too. Yeah.
and in my Notion, I have the same thing where I'm tracking water and exercise and all of
Yep.
these things, because it helps me stay on track
Yeah.
with my habits, and it helps me feel better, and,
Yeah.
and just be more accountable. So let's talk a little bit about what are you currently reading or listening to?
Yes. I have my book right here. Actually, I came prepared. I'm halfway through this book called Never Not Working. It's by Melissa Clark. It's why the always on culture is bad for business and how to fix it. And it basically takes everything you think you knew about perfectionism and workaholics and workaholism and tells you data backed truth about those things. And it is so incredible how truly everything I knew about overworking and workaholism it's actually so much deeper. It is way beyond the surface of, well, you're only a workaholic if you're working 80-hour weeks, or if you're in certain industries, or if you're tied to your phone all the time. I thought there's no way I could be considered a workaholic or have these tendencies. I have such great boundaries, right? I only work
Yeah.
this many hours. I take half days often. I work from bed when I need to. I don't check my phone on the weekends. I have do not disturb on, like, all of those, like, surface level kind of bare minimum
Yeah.
things. I'm like, I'm so good at that. Yeah, it's not about that at all. It's not about that at all. And so it's blowing my mind.
Yeah.
I'm highlighting so many things, and I feel like I could have a whole podcast topic just about this book.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I need to dive into that because I am a self diagnosed workaholic.
Yeah.
Even though I do have healthy established boundaries, I am obsessed with working, even though I am obsessed with other things, you know?
Uh-huh. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So
It'll change your life.
I should check it out. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about self-care then. Since
Yeah.
we're talking, that's a good pivot for us. Let's talk about,
Yep.
what are you doing for self-care?
Going to therapy.
Mhm.
I highly recommend therapy. Part of the thing that I did, I knew this before I read this book, and the book is solidifying this with data. But I started seeing a new therapist when I left my old job. I had a lot of, a lot of grief and a lot of emotions tangled in me leaving that position and ending that partnership and stepping down from that role and all of the things that that meant. And I had tied up with my literal identity and self-worth.
Yeah.
But a lot of it, it was also, and I kind of mentioned this earlier, like my addiction to being productive and my self-worth tied to productivity. I am also a self-diagnosed workaholic. I'm an Enneagram 3, INFJ. Like, if any of those things resonate with anyone, like, that's I achieve by working and by doing and by being productive. And I had also quite literally shaped my body, the inside of my body, to be addicted to the adrenaline rush of a to-do list, of urgent work, of a project that only I could solve. It literally changes our hormone or our hormones in our bodies when those things happen and when they're put in front of us. And so I went to my therapist and I was like, I just feel like I don't have the Sunday scaries. I have the I'm actually excited about work, but it's the Monday, like, heavy productivity. It's like a ball of energy that's ping-ponging around my chest every single Monday. It's there. And that doesn't go away unless I, like, do a certain amount of tasks or I work a certain amount of hours. And then I need to recover because I'm tired because I just worked a bunch to try to get this feeling to go away. And
Yeah.
so all of that to say is my self-care for the last even year and a half and for the foreseeable future will be to continue to unravel the threads that I have completely shaped my identity around work, and really trying to regulate my system around work.
Mm. Yeah, I was a guest on somebody else's podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she asked me, what are the things that you've been saying yes to lately? And I said, actually, I've been saying no to
Yeah.
a lot of things.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because I need to take a step back and stop saying yes so much.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I recognize that as being something that I've gotten myself just too busy. I'm too busy to be
Yes.
effective. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. This book talks about how, like, workaholism is the only approved and celebrated condition
Yeah.
ism within our society, within our world, within our country, and not just the United States, a lot. And there are a lot of studies in here that are referenced even in other countries about, like, there's like phrases and terms coined in other countries that basically mean, like, work till death and death by
Mhm.
work. And it's very real, and it's not meant like, as I'm not trying to be like fear mongering here. It's very like, it is something to pay attention to. And I know that as a lot of moms starting, especially like consulting or service-based work, it's really easy, too easy to get into that overworked state in this type of business, especially being your own boss. And I think we could all benefit from being really intentional from it from the jump.
Yeah, I learned very quickly how, burnout can really impact your health.
Yeah.
And especially, as a single mom, it
Yeah.
is, the burden is so heavy that you feel like you have to do all of these things. But then shortly after all of these things kind of like came down on me, my health started to be an issue. And so I
Yeah.
think that, not outside of the fear mongering, people need to realize that burnout and overworking can really impact your health. And that's the one thing that we have is
Yep.
our health. And
Yep.
my health has been challenged dramatically from overworking. And
Mhm.
yet at the same
Mhm.
time, it's hard for me to say no because I have 4 kids that I
Yeah.
need to take care of all by myself. So
Yep.
nobody else is going to come in and save the day. I have to do it. And, but I think the benefit of being a business owner is we get the freedom to pick and choose what we want to do. And that's
Yep.
where, like, looking at our numbers is super
Yes.
critical, right? Because we can look at what is actually making the most sense for us
Yep.
and what is not making the most sense. So after I had that interview with her, it was actually a pivotal point for me because a week later, I canceled a lot of the calls for this podcast. I
Yeah.
canceled a lot of interviews and things that I had going on. And then I took a week off and
Yes.
I went away and I said, okay, I need to restructure my business because this is not working for me. And
Yes.
did what we were talking about. I took that time to analyze, like, what can I do to make
Mhm.
this better for me? Because I still
Yep.
have to do it. I just need it to be better for me.
Right. Right.
Right.
Well, and I think a lot of people's natural inclination is when it gets that hard and bad and negative, we quit and we burn it down to the ground.
Yeah.
And that's not the solution. That doesn't have to be the solution every time. I quit my job. It
Right.
was a partnership though. There were big changes I want to make in order to honor how I wanted to work that we couldn't come to terms with. And that's okay. So I needed to leave and just be the only one in charge to be able to
Right.
make those decisions. Right. And I know that's why especially a lot of moms are leaving corporate spaces to be able to do that same thing, right? I know that childcare continues to be a huge issue in this country. I know that after the pandemic, it wrecked a lot of our lives because of
Mhm.
that. And a lot of us are making different decisions literally around childcare, and whether it's because of solo parenting or work or finances or whatever. And I know that a lot of us are pursuing careers like this, and I love that. And be intentional about
Mhm.
the things that you're putting on your plate. Like we're talking about, of when you're understanding what the data is showing you, that enables you to pull the right lever. You do
Right.
not have to pull every lever. You do not have to be everywhere. There is absolutely reality, because I am living it. And so have tens of thousands of other small business owners, where you can, like, quite literally build a service-based business that brings in 6 figures without social media,
Right.
without a website, even without content. Like, that is an actual reality still in this day and age. And so release yourself from the shoulds and the expectations, and really just dial in on what's actually bringing in revenue.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so where can everyone find you? Where are you at?
Yeah. So I hang out mostly on Instagram. It's a little bit of personal, a little bit of business. It's at Emylee Says. My name is spelled kind of uniquely. So maybe go to the show notes or website or whatever to try to find that. Also, Creatives Catalyst. It's plural, it's multiple creatives, catalyst.com. That's where you're going to find my consulting work and see if it makes sense for us to work together. If you are interested in one of those health audits for your own business, if you are making over 6 figures and sell either more than one offer or you generate leads in more than one way, then we definitely need to chat. Otherwise, I also have my own podcast. It's called Lazy Business Podcast, and it's about my recovery from burnout and overwork and overwhelm and designing a business that is hella profitable, but lazy, which is my favorite. Also intentional and aligned, but I'm reclaiming the word lazy for myself.
Okay.
And so that one's fun. It airs twice a week. So you should definitely go listen to that one. But yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being a guest. It has been my pleasure.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
And there you have it. I want to encourage you to remember that being a mom who runs her own business is not easy. We all struggle, but just keep moving forward and don't forget to make time for yourself. As moms, we are usually the first thing to go to the bottom of the list. If your business is overwhelming you and you need real solutions, not just some sugar-coated suggestions, apply to work with me at ritasuzanne.com/apply.